My name is Amanda Hart, 30, a graphic designer scraping by in Wichita, Kansas. The backyard BBQ was buzzing relatives, laughing kids running until Dad's voice sliced through the noise. "You're not half the man your brother is." The words landed like a punch to the gut. Everyone froze eyes on me. I didn't flinch. Instead, I slid a folder across the picnic table, my lips curling into a cold smile. "Then I hope you're ready for the truth tonight," I said. Mom's face went pale. "Tis the truth." "What truth?" she stammered. They'd said it before, over and over, always putting me in Cody's shadow, praising him while I faded. At dinners, holidays, every gathering the same jab. "Why can't you be more like him?" Each word left a mark, carving deeper over the years. But tonight was different. That folder carried something they couldn't dismiss. I wasn't chasing their approval anymore. I was here to end the game. The air hung heavy like the stillness before a storm. They had no idea what was about to break. Have you ever felt your family saw you as less? Share your story. Tell me about the moment you finally stood up. Looking back, I can still feel the sting of being invisible in my own family. Growing up in our Wichita home, I was always the afterthought, the one who didn't quite fit the mold. My brother, the golden child, slid straight into Dad's advertising agency after college and instantly became the family's pride. "He's going places," Dad would say, chest puffed out, while Mom's eyes gleamed with approval. I was just there, trying to carve my own path unseen. At 22, fresh out of art school, I started designing logos for small businesses. I'd spend hours sketching, tweaking fonts, pouring my heart into each project. Once I showed Mom a flyer I'd created for a local bakery, hoping for a spark of interest. "That's nice, dear," she murmured, barely glancing up from her phone. Then came the kicker. "Your brother just landed a big client for Dad's firm." My stomach knotted. I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. Why was it always about him? It wasn't one moment, it was years. Family dinners became parades of his achievements. "He's so driven," Dad would boast, passing him the mashed potatoes. "He's got my head for business." I'd sit there picking at my food. My own wins, a scholarship, a design contest never mentioned. Once I tried to share that I'd been featured in a local art magazine. Mom cut me off. "Oh, did I tell you about the campaign your brother pitched?" My jaw clenched. After that, I stopped trying. I threw myself into work, believing that if I created something undeniable, they'd finally see me. I took on extra gigs, stayed up late, built a portfolio I was proud of. But every time I brought it up, it was the same. "Your brother's leading a team now," Dad would say, as if my hustle didn't exist. One Christmas, I gifted them a framed print I'd designed for our living room. Mom smiled politely, set it aside, and gushed over the new watch my brother gave her. "He's so thoughtful," she said. I felt myself shrinking. By my mid-20s, the effort was eating me alive. At gatherings, Cody basked in their praise while I nodded along, each word chipping away. I didn't envy his success, I just wanted mine to matter. But no matter how hard I worked, it was like I didn't exist. At my cousin Sean Klein's wedding, I stood nearby with a drink while Dad bragged to guests about Cody's latest deal. He never once said my name. Doubt crept in. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe the long nights, the contests, the clients meant nothing. But deep down I knew better. I had given time, effort, love, and gotten nothing back. The truth was brutal. They didn't see me because they chose not to. They had picked their star, and it wasn't me. That realization burned, but it also sparked something. I wasn't going to stay invisible forever. Sitting in my apartment, staring at my latest design, I felt the shift. I was done begging for scraps of recognition. Something had to change. My tiny apartment in Wichita became my sanctuary, a place where I could drown myself in work and shut out the noise. Graphic design was my escape. Every late night spent tweaking layouts. Every new client win felt like a step toward proving I was enough. I'd landed a big project, a full rebrand for a local coffee chain, the kind of break I'd been chasing for years. Hours melted away as I poured my soul into color palettes and mock-ups, my laptop screen glowing in the dark. This was my shot, and I was determined to nail it. I thought maybe this would finally get their attention. I called Mom one evening, buzzing with excitement to tell her about the coffee chain deal. "That's great, honey," she said, her voice flat like she was reading from a script. "Did you hear your brother's firm just signed a national brand?" My chest tightened. I muttered something and hung up, staring at my sketch pad. It was like my work didn't exist unless it eclipsed his. So I pushed harder. Next came a website for a Wichita nonprofit. It was pro bono, but the exposure was huge. My name was starting to spread. I sent Dad the link, hoping he'd notice. "Looks nice," he texted back. "Your brother's team just got a promotion." I wanted to scream. Why was every step I took measured against him? I wasn't asking for a parade, just a sign they saw me. Family gatherings were the worst. At a cousin's birthday party, I tried to share my latest win, a logo for a music festival I'd spent weeks perfecting. Before I could finish, Dad cut in, "Your brother's pitching to a car dealership next week. Big money." The table laughed and nodded while I sank back in my chair, my words swallowed. Mom didn't even look up from her plate. I felt like I was shouting into a void. I started dodging their calls. Mom's cheerful voicemails piled up, inviting me to dinner, but never asking about my life. Once I gave in and showed up portfolio and handprints of my best work, hoping it might land differently in person. Dad flipped through, nodded, and handed it back. "Your brother's working on a campaign that could go viral," he said automatically. Mom smiled and added, "He's so creative." Creative, I was bleeding creativity every night, but to them, it meant nothing. I buried myself deeper in projects, a boutique, a startup, even a local band. My inbox overflowed, my designs gained traction, and my name was circulating. But online, Dad kept posting about his son's latest deals, his star employee. Not a word about me. I'd scroll through, stomach in knots, seeing comments from relatives like Aunt Joyce. So proud of him, it was like I'd been erased. The breaking point came at a neighborhood cookout. Elaine Klein, our chatty family friend, asked how my work was going. I started to answer, eager to mention a mural I'd designed for a downtown shop. Dad overheard and jumped in. "Her brother's the real talent. His firm's killing it." Elaine's smile faltered, her eyes soft with pity. My hands trembled as I excused myself. I wasn't just invisible anymore. I was a ghost in my own family. That night, back in my apartment, I stared at my latest project on the screen, unable to focus. I had built something real, something mine, but they refused to see it. Their dismissal was crushing yet clarifying. I didn't need their validation anymore. I needed answers. I dug into our family's finances, a suspicion gnawing at me. It started with a casual remark from Mom during a call. My brother was now handling the family fund to cover her medical bills and Dad's loans. My heart sank. Over 4 years, I'd quietly paid for her cancer treatments, draining my savings, juggling extra gigs. Why was he in charge of a fund I'd practically built with my own hands? The fund was meant to be shared, created after Mom's diagnosis to cover expenses and keep Dad's agency afloat. I had funneled every spare dollar into it, believing we were all contributing. But now he was the one calling the shots. I needed answers. I combed through my bank records, each transfer, 500 here, 1,000 there, a reminder of sleepless nights spent hustling just to keep up. When I asked Mom how the fund was managed, she brushed me off. "Oh, your brother's got it under control. He's so good with money." My grip tightened on the phone. Good with money, I'd poured in tens of thousands, and she barely acknowledged it. When I pressed if she knew the full extent of what I'd paid, she replied vaguely, "You helped a little, right?" "A little." I hung up before my anger spilled out. I tried Dad next, catching him at the office. "The fund's fine," he said, distracted. "Your brother's running it now. He's got the business sense." My chest burned. Years of sacrifice reduced to nothing. I asked directly if he realized I'd covered of Mom's treatment. He paused, then muttered, Yeah, we appreciated that. Appreciated. That was it. No recognition, just a pat on the head like I'd done a chore. That night, I couldn't sleep. At my desk, staring at my laptop, the question hammered me if they didn't care about my payments. What else were they hiding? I dug further, logging into an old family email account once used for fund updates. Buried inside were messages between Dad and my brother discussing balances, investments, even a new car he'd bought. My name never appeared. One bank statement showed my deposits flowing into the account, but the withdrawals all authorized by him. I turned to my own records, gathering receipts and confirmations from the hospital. Each date and dollar was tied to me. I even found a thank you note from the hospital addressed in my name for covering Mom's final bill. I had never shown it, thinking it was just my duty. Now it was proof of betrayal. I called my friend Paige Lane, a media pro who'd always backed me. I laid everything out: my payments, his control, the family's dismissal. "That's not right," she snapped. "You need to show them." She urged me to compile everything into something undeniable. For days, I sifted through documents, screenshots, statements, organizing every shred of evidence. By the end, I had a digital folder bursting with proof. My suspicion had hardened into certainty. My brother wasn't just the favorite, he was profiting from my sacrifice. I wasn't letting it slide anymore. I was ready to make them face the truth. Paige and I met at a coffee shop, laptops open, ready to turn my evidence into something bigger. The hum of conversation faded as we dove into the folder I'd spent days compiling. It was a mountain of proof: bank transfers, receipts, emails showing I'd paid $65,000 for Mom's medical bills, while my brother took credit for managing the family fund. Paige, with her sharp media instincts, cut straight to the point. "We're making a video," she said, eyes flashing. "Something they can't ignore." We started with the receipts. I pulled up every confirmation, each one a snapshot of sacrifice: late nights designing logos to cover bills, skipping meals to save cash. Paige arranged them into a timeline, her fingers flying across the keys. "This is your story," she said, pointing to an invoice with my name on it. My throat tightened. It wasn't just about money, it was about being erased. Next came the emails. I'd saved every message from the family account, including ones where Dad praised my brother for keeping the fund strong. Paige found a thread where he approved a withdrawal for an office lease without my input. "This is gold," she muttered, pasting it into our file. There was even a note from Mom thanking him for handling everything as if I'd done nothing. Each message cut deep, but it also steeled me. The video was Paige's idea, but I shaped its design. I wanted it clean, undeniable: numbers and dates flashing on screen, my voice narrating the truth. We worked late in my apartment drafting the script. I recorded a rough take, my voice steady but raw. "This is what I paid. This is what you ignored." Paige layered it over shots of statements and receipts. She added the hospital's thank you letter, zooming in on my name. "This will hit hard," she said, replaying the edit. Pride and dread twisted in me. We needed context. Paige suggested public records, and we found a property tax notice tied to Dad's business, paid from the same account I'd funded. My brother had been funneling money into his own projects while I scraped by. We added the notice to the video, along with a transfer he'd signed for a consulting fee. My stomach churned. This wasn't just unfair, it was theft. The reunion was weeks away. The perfect stage: relatives like Aunt Joyce and family friends like Elaine Klein would all be there. Paige and I mapped it out. "Bring a projector, play the video after dinner." I'd introduce it calmly. "I have something to share tonight." No drama, just truth. Paige grinned. "They won't see it coming." I wasn't so sure. The thought of Dad's glare, Mom's nervous smile made my palms sweat. But I was done hiding. We refined the video, trimming every second for impact. I reworked the narration, cut the fluff. On my laptop, the numbers flashed: $65,000, 4 years, my name. It was powerful, but I felt exposed. What if they twisted? I asked one night. Paige squeezed my hand. They can try. The truth doesn't bend. Her certainty steadied me. As the reunion neared, we double-checked everything. I backed up the video on a USB and emailed it to myself. Paige printed key receipts in case anyone demanded paper proof. We rehearsed my opening line, keeping it short. The weight of it all pressed down. This wasn't just about proving a point, it was about reclaiming my place. The night before the reunion, I couldn't sleep, the video's opening frame looping in my mind. Now, standing in my parents' living room, I felt the weight of every gaze. The house buzzed with chatter plates, clinking, kids laughing outside. Paige stood by the projector, her nod sparking a surge of courage. I cleared my throat. I have something to share tonight, I said, calm but firm. The noise faded, faces turning toward me, curious but unaware. I plugged in the USB and the projector hummed to life. The screen lit up with my name. Then the first hospital receipt, $65,000 paid by me over 4 years. My voiceover played steady and clear. This is what I paid. This is what you ignored. The room fell still as transfers flashed across the screen, each one tied to my account. My sleepless nights, my sacrifices. Mom's fork froze midair. Dad's jaw locked, his fingers digging into the chair. Emails followed, Dad praising my brother for managing the fund, approving withdrawals for a car, an office lease, a consulting fee. Not once was I mentioned. Then came the property tax notice, also paid from my contributions. Aunt Joyce gasped, hand to her mouth. Elaine Klein, usually talkative, stared silently. My brother shifted pale, avoiding my eyes. The video ended with the hospital's thank you letter, my name bold on the page. The silence pressed down like a weight. I stepped forward. I paid $65,000 for Mom's treatment, I said. Meeting Dad's eyes, then Mom's. I drained my savings, worked nights, gave everything. And you handed the fund to him, let him take the credit while I was erased. Mom's lips trembled. Amanda, we didn't know, she whispered. I cut her off. You didn't want to know. Dad stood, face flushed. This is a family matter, he snapped. You're airing our business in front of everyone. I held his gaze. You made it everyone's business when you ignored me. Elaine leaned forward, her voice sharp. She's right, Kenneth. That's not fair. Joyce nodded, torn. My brother finally spoke low. I was just managing it, Amanda. I didn't realize you'd paid that much. A bitter laugh escaped me. You knew enough to claim the credit. The room crackled with shock. I drew a breath. My decision firm. I'm done, I said, my voice carrying. No more money, no more loans, no more favors. I'm finished giving to a family that refuses to see me. Mom reached out, but I stepped back. Dad's face hardened, silent. Relatives exchanged uneasy looks, some nodding, others frozen. Paige touched my arm, grounding me. I turned to the room, softer but resolute. I've carried this family while you celebrated him. This video is my truth. I'm not asking for approval. I'm taking my life back. Elaine rose, clapping slowly, eyes wet. You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. Joyce wiped a tear. My brother stared at the floor, fists clenched. I unplugged the projector, hands steady despite the adrenaline. I'd shown them, said what needed to be said. For the first time, I felt seen, not by them, but by myself. I wasn't invisible anymore. I walked onto the porch, the cool night air on my face, knowing everything had changed. The days after the reunion were chaos. Mom reached out first, her voice shaky, begging me to come back and talk things out. She insisted they hadn't meant to overlook me, that they'd make it right. I listened, my chest heavy but unmoved. I'm done, Mom, I said evenly. I gave, and you never gave back. She cried, but I hung up, feeling a strange relief. I'd carried them long enough. Dad called next, his tone gruff but pleading. We need you, Amanda. The fund's a mess without your help. I almost laughed. The fund they'd handed to my brother. You chose him, I cut in. Fix it yourselves. He tried to argue, but I ended the call. Paige texted afterward just 3 words. You did right. Her steady support anchored me as the storm grew. Then came the online attacks. My brother posted first a vague status about family betrayal and selfish lies. Dad followed with an article on loyalty tagging me publicly. Mom's posts were softer, hinting at misunderstandings, but still framing me as ungrateful. Relatives like Aunt Joyce stayed quiet, but our friend Elaine messaged me privately. They're wrong, Amanda. Stay strong. I scrolled through the posts stomach tight but didn't respond. Let them rant. I was finished playing along. The fallout hit quickly. Without my contributions, the fund dried up. My brother's mismanagement unraveled Dad's agency lost a major client after their office lease bounced bills I'd once covered. A local business blog reported missed deadlines and unpaid vendors, hinting at deeper financial trouble. My brother tried to spin it as a temporary setback, but the truth was clear. He'd gambled with money that wasn't his, and he'd lost. From my apartment, I read the updates, feeling both vindicated and strangely pitying, but I didn't reach out. Meanwhile, I turned to myself. New clients came: a tech startup, a brewery, a theater group, each project bigger than the last. My designs were featured in a regional magazine, and I landed a contract with a national chain, my biggest win yet. I moved into a better apartment with a view of Wichita's skyline and started saving again, for me this time. Paige and I celebrated over coffee, her grin wide. You're unstoppable now, she said. I smiled lighter than I'd felt in years. The family's calls slowed, then stopped. Joyce sent a hesitant email apologizing for not speaking up sooner. I replied politely but kept my distance. Elaine invited me to a community art event where I showcased a mural design and received a standing ovation. Their support meant something, but it couldn't erase the years of silence. I didn't need their validation anymore. I'd built my own world. Looking back, I saw the cost of my sacrifice. I had given my family money, time, love, only to be sidelined for someone who never earned it. Their pleas, their attacks, their collapse didn't change the truth. They had never valued me, but I had learned something bigger. I turned to the camera, my voice steady. Don't sacrifice for those who don't value you, I said. Your worth isn't in what you give, it's in what you build for yourself. Choose you.